Well, this is the March 10th joint meeting with Philipsburg, the county, and Drummond. It is 5:58, and this is Bluejeans. So this is what you see.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, this is it.
Let's Kathy's daughters. Hello? Yeah, whatever. I don't know, it didn't sound right. It didn't. Yeah.
This looks good. Doesn't it look good? This is how they do things. Okay, here we go.
Call this meeting to order, the Philipsburg Drummond Granite County Joint Session, March 10th, 2021, here at Philipsburg Town Hall. I'd ask for you to please mute your phones. Folks that are online, if you would please mute yourself until you have a question, and that would be really good. So, if we might start by standing and reciting the Pledge of Allegiance.
Give me a break. Quit.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Don't blame me, comes to me. Just.
Every single person did the
Are we
same.
supposed to be social distancing?
Yeah.
You can sit where you're comfortable,
How's it going?
as long as you're in the building. Okay, first is first, I'd like to thank everybody for attending this. It's a really good thing, I think, and I'd like to personally thank Mayor Lieber for approaching the commission and getting this underway again. Of course, most everyone is aware that we did these joint sessions last year. We went basically to the 4 locations, and then of course the COVID hit and we stopped. So I think this is a good sign that we're meeting again. And so I'd just like to note again that thank you, Mayor Lieber, for getting this underway. First off, I don't know if there's anyone in here who I've not met or who don't know me. I'm Andrew. So I'd like to take this opportunity and start here with Mayor Lieber. Everyone can introduce themselves and go right around the table here.
Eda Lieber, Mayor Drummond.
Jana McGill, Town Attorney for Drummond.
Earl Clute, Town of Drummond.
Gary McClure, Town of Drummond.
Ray Powell, Councilman, John the Drummond.
Blanche McClure, Commissioner, Grant County.
Doug Hinkle, Commissioner.
Blaine Bradshaw, County Attorney.
Blaine Albert, Philipsburg Town Council.
Scott Lyons, Philipsburg Town Council.
Max Statler, Philipsburg Town Council.
So this is their.
And we have some folks online. Mr. Sundstrom.
I'm here. Carl Sundstrom, Town Council, Philipsburg.
We have Councilman Johnson. Are you on board here? No. Okay. And Councilman Legay, are you online? I can't tell from this. No. Okay. So
And there should be Carla Stewart from Town Council on.
online. Carl Stewart.
The only ones on here are Christy Mainwaring,
Gail Leeper and
That's-
Elena.
Yeah, so that's covered.
Okay, very good. Okay, so let's, you have copies of the agenda, and there's some extras for anybody to have one. So, I'd like to start by just asking Mayor Leeper
Isn't
to
this
give
great?
sort of a general update of what's going on in Drummond, currently, and maybe how the winter's been and what's on the horizon here, in the near term.
Did I miss who was here from Granite County?
Thank you. So, some of the things that are going on right now, COVID, yes, it affected us, but not in the way that it did a lot of people, I don't feel. So our generator for our lift station, we've been dealing with that project for a year now. Why they didn't want to sell us one, but I think we're on track now to be able to do that. Water tower is finally complete with a fire hydrant, a new fire hydrant that was leaking. At the water tower, the fire department is putting an extension hose, or there is one there, they have to do some little bit of adjustment to fill the trucks with, so that's a good thing. Roads, South Main, from going out to the park that is a major problem, that we have got to try to figure out some way to get redone. The city's portion of that road is from the town out to the river bridge, and then the county's is across the bridge and up to Highway 1. Actually, floodplains in park were in pretty good shape, but it is spring. The store building in Drummond, what used to be the store, there's been a bunch of inquiries about it, and from people around Drummond even putting maybe their products for their virtual or for their store. When I talked to Headwaters, they are going to have a virtual auction for the con and then sell the building, but there's also been an inquiry about all of it. There's some new buildings the new building, part of it is the wagon wheel has,
By the way, we
they're
have a big
turning
five
all
people.
their motel rooms
attending.
into apartments. Which was actually really smart.
I don't know who's there.
Leaves us with that. We only have one motel, but it gives more places for people to live. Energy Partners bought out the Cenex, so they don't have a store in there anymore, but they have a person that works 5 days a week. Anything else, Council? I think that's it.
Wow.
Thank you for that. Any questions from any city members here that they want to direct to Mayor Leeper, additions or thoughts? You have the floor right now.
Oh,
Any grant opportunities for South Main Street there, or the?
Yeah, we have to have a little money to turn into a lot of money, to do
Chuck
that.
Campbell's there.
I mean, that's something that I don't know about if the county's plans, for the other side. Obviously I haven't come about it yet to see, but it needs to be
this is the county attorney.
redone from
that's the
the
commissioner.
bottom. It's so narrow. There's been so much material put on it. Yeah.
I don't know who else is there. He's from the newspaper.
Okay.
I don't know who this
Thank
is.
you for that. I'll just give a quick general update of what's going on here in Philipsburg. I think we were pretty much in the same category in my estimation with respect to COVID. People went through the protocols, did the necessary things. I think we were fortunate. We didn't get overwhelmed too much, and so it's been a year now, and hopefully things will start to right themselves. we here in Philipsburg, our mission is obviously, I think everyone is aware of this, is infrastructure. That's our focus, constant focus. We're constantly working on sewer and water. This past summer, we were able to put together a pretty good system of getting to desludge our lagoons, which is a pretty big undertaking. We put together a plan, went to the DEQ. Of course, they tweaked our plan a little bit, ended up costing a little bit more money. Our town crew did the work, steep learning curve, but they did a great job. They've gotten probably close to 70 to 80% of the sludge removed from the cell one, which had the predominant amount of sludge in it. So that's an ongoing endeavor. We'll return to that at some point, hopefully by early summer, and finish that out. I went and talked to the long-range planning committee up at the legislature for sludge would help us get rid of the ultimate material, and so we're in pretty good shape there. We were rated number one for a $429,000 DNRC grant, and so they're just finishing up that. I haven't heard the final disposition, but everybody I've talked to seems like we're in good shape for that. So we're hoping to complete that this summer, and there's a possibility that we may be able to take the material, which is metal laden, into the repository up at Black Pine. The DEQ is going to reopen to that and do some final remediation. So we're working with those guys real closely to see if we can get that done. Given the fact that our sludge is impregnated with quite a bit of heavy metals, we just can't put it anywhere or land distribute it. So there's going to be costs and we end up having to get rid of it. So that's an ongoing thing. And again, I think our town crew did a heck of a job.
Look at
of course,
this,
the
how
engineers
blurred it
were
is.
involved in the
Look at
layout
this.
and crew,
This is
they
called
brought the whole
Bluejeans.
system Art on it. So that's an ongoing
Pretty cool,
project
huh?
right now. Also, we have several things going on in town right
This is
now.
Gail
There's
Leeper. She's
excess
sitting there.
water,
So I don't know why
main
this is
upgrades,
here.
the constant thing with repairs and taking care of deferred maintenance. That whole thing is
Reed
ongoing.
Spiegel.
So we're planning for a very busy,
He's apparently
very
the
busy
host.
building season. Stuff in terms of infrastructure, and also, of course, I believe this was one of the effects of the COVID, and I imagine a year ago now, people were on the computers looking around for cases. They saw us here in Granite County, and there wasn't very many dots here. So consequently, the real estate started to go, and it's been very active. And so we've got a lot of building going on and more all the time. And so we're taking this one step at a time, and we're trying to stay up.
Apparently they don't answer questions in the
For
chat
example, there's a couple lots here in town where they're proposing to
or
put
respond to
a
anybody in the chat.
hotel with a full restaurant in the bottom of it. The Stevens Hotel, which is a building over here on Montgomery that's been done, sitting for a while. It looks like there's a possibility that might be refurbished and turned into condominiums. We still have our
Low income.
Finn subdivision is pending. That's still up there too. That's a proposed 30-house subdivision. So there's a lot of activity going on, and for good, bad, or indifferent, we've been discovered. And so we're dealing with that at a practical level. And in case money is always an issue with that sort of thing. So we also, partially because of what I was talking about, we felt as though we needed some kind of outline of what the future might look like on a practical level. So we applied for a Department of Commerce planning grant. We're with that. And so we're in the process right now of starting that. And we brought on Great Engineering to oversee that process, and that's just beginning. So I suspect we'll be active on that for the next 10 months, getting that lined out and making sure that we get as much community support as possible on that, and try to figure out what the future looks like. I myself personally, I'm very pro-growth, but also too much growth, we have a word for that, that's called cancer. So we don't want to go crazy with the growth, and this is just my personal opinion, but we want to be able to manage stuff so that we can maintain the essence of what this place is about. I guess that would be long and short of it. Right now, we're working on roads and all that normal spring stuff. So, is there any questions that anyone has? If not, I'd like to take this opportunity to open the floor for any commissioner members that might want to give us an update on what's at the top of your list or what's going on, if you'd like to.
I don't know, just do.
Tell them about House Bill 421.
Oh, yeah, well, we can talk about that ambulance, but.
What happened to the
Bill
county
to the
commissioners?
legislature, and that's to get a pension plan for the ambulance crew. And, well, if they had an ambulance crew. And it got shot down in State Administration Committee by MACO. And if you don't know MACO, it's Montana Association of Counties. And we had no idea they were going to testify against it. And there was no, we tried to get hold of them, they never got hold of us. Anyway, they went in and basically shot it down. Right now, we're trying to get it off the table, but it's after a thing called transmittal. That's the middle of a session, and it's tough to get them off the table. For some reason, it has to go through appropriations committee. So the representative carrying it is trying to get an appropriation on it somehow. And also, Bill Slaughter called the governor's office. He's trying to get, he was, I haven't talked to him since, but trying to get governor to do something to try to get off the table. Probably not gonna happen. They told us to wait and study it for a year, and that's what people like to do. And I think that they shot
Can't
it
see
down
this talking,
because,
can you?
well, they're on a
I
power trip,
recognize his
and
voice.
We didn't go
That's
through
the
that.
Granite County
We didn't think about this
chairman
until
of the
end
commission, board
October,
of commissioners.
and so we just
Chuck
jumped
Hinkle.
on it and try to get it through it. Anyway, they think that we have to go through them. They don't realize that they work for us. But,
They work for us. How about you work for us?
so anyway,
Look at this.
right now it's that, see if we can get off the table.
Look at this. Can you see anything that's happening? No. Look at this.
Okay.
Oh, damn.
That's it from Granite County?
They haven't got back to us. I did an agreement with them and, it was
What's this?
hydrodynamic.
Raise your hand or something?
To run the dam, and we were gonna lease it, but we can't work back from them.
Maybe that's raise your hand.
And hopefully it won't fall through, that they will lease it. And then run the
Can't
dam.
hear it very well, can you?
Keep letting water out.
They want us, well, it's Tuesday, they want them just to start 42 CFS. I think that's too much for right now. And they're doing some work down below, down. And, they don't need water. Yeah. Extra water. No. Yeah, anyway, so, and so we weren't doing 25 CFS, all in there, which is perfect, that was what was coming.
Nothing about the airport, huh?
And so, we did.
Nothing about the hydroelectric dam, huh?
And then we might raise that, well, we gotta get down, below, from a foot to foot and a half below. But right now, we're at 10 inches below.
I don't know what he's
I just-
talking about.
For the record, you said this is the regulatory agency that wants you to put it at a third CFS. That's
No,
That's dynamics,
Yeah.
which operate.
I guess he's talking about the
If we
dam.
make more, they can make more money. If we don't have it, you know, we can't get it down below a foot. Well, we can, but then game department starts yelling at us and threatening us because we're killing fish, because can't breathe. And, yeah.
The first order does say it has to be within 1 foot of full pool by the end of May. That's a requirement.
I think that's probably what I was referring to.
Yeah, which is somewhat of an issue because we've been getting all the precipitation in late May and June here in the last few years, so regulations have been a lot here.
Is that over regionally, because it comes from northwest?
Oh, that's the order is through FERC, you know, DC,
Okay,
FERC,
DC.
yeah.
Yeah, nice.
That's, they got a license, they tried to get that modified, FERC wouldn't budge on some of those.
Thought you reached an agreement on that page.
So, nothing in writing, it was just a verbal agreement that they're gonna work towards it. Get us the draft lease, we haven't seen the draft lease yet. I've emailed Matt Williams, Flinker Hyder's attorney, and haven't heard back from him. Where we're at right now.
All right, thanks for that. That's all we have on that level. We'll go to agenda item number 3, which would be Red Lion RAC funded project update and in cooperation with Sam Dennis,
What is
Public
that?
Works Director.
Ambulance service, that's 5. But he talked about it.
Hello, everyone. How is everyone this evening? Happy to be here. Excited. Oh, okay, so just to give people a quick background for anyone that's not aware of it, 75% or better of Philipsburg's drinking water comes from
Oh, this is
Lake.
getting better.
Fredberg Lake is about, I'd say it's 8 miles from here.
Good.
Easterly of town, we have 7 miles of line that brings the water from the lake to town. Philipsburg is the last public water system in the state and one of 2 in the country with a surface water filtration waiver. What that means is we don't have to process, we don't have to have that additional filtration aspect to the drinking water. It's so clean, so pure, that even EPA can't find anything wrong with it to make us filter it. With that being said, the watershed around that lake is a very, very sensitive thing. And over time, watersheds tend to deteriorate, the timber dies, it becomes more vulnerable to fire. And so the primary access for us to go to the lake to maintain our headworks and the dam, to do the dam inspections, DEQ inspections, etc., is Red Lion Road. So and I brainstormed a year and a half ago about ways that we could repair that road. It's terrible. If we send folks up there, it's a whole day ordeal to get in and out of there. And it's getting to a point where even the Forest Service is concerned about getting firefighting equipment and personnel in to manage an incident in that already very delicate watershed. So we last year wrote a proposal for the Resource Advisory Council grant, and we're awarded about half of what we asked for. It's a big project. It's a lot of road to work on. We just went through another round of that today. I think the RAC Council, for everyone, is really excited about a project, a small project of maintenance, turning into a bigger thing like stewardship of the watershed and maintenance of the area around it. With that being said, in the process of researching who actually owns what, there, the town of Philipsburg has a 1 mile section of Forest Service road that we are ultimately responsible. Road P34, and that's right at the top of, I believe, what they call Fredberg Pass, where it drops down into Racetrack Lake. The additional 7 miles from, what is that, Southern Cross, Echo Lake area, the gates of the ski hill, is actually considered county road, I believe, according to Forest Service.
That was all the answers.
So
I believe, I think.
to make this project quicker and cost effective for everyone, it would be very nice if we could collaborate with the county on the bottom, like 3 miles of it. All it needs is a rotor, really. The ditches need cleaned. It just needs bladed. And then it gets really nasty, and that's where Forest Service is willing to collaborate with us. And we buy materials, they do the work, culverts, drainage improvements, and then we can get to our section where we just need to thin the dead timber and improve a little bit of drainage around the lake. And we'll have our access, the Forest Service will have their access, and it's also critical that the game is able to monitor the watershed and the lake itself to keep people from swimming in it, fishing in it, or camping in it. As you hear all the time, the area is getting busier and busier all the time. The human activity in the Flint range has really increased in the last few years. It would be
I guess
nice
they can make it up there, huh?
for us to be able to go up there once or twice a month in the summer, take a look at things, make sure the signs are up. And part of it, a bit better. Human access more. So that's long story short. What would be cool would be if we could work with Paul when the county's up working at the lake this summer, if they could just go through and like potholes and pull the ditches.
Which part of the road is that?
The lowest section, it'd be from the, let's see, what is that? Fort Campground,
Yeah, he's
Cable
good
Creek
with the
Campground.
answers.
From there up, I think it's about 3 miles. And I would
Down
add
to
that we
5
did have the
people now.
entire road surveyed and engineered for drainage and slope and everything else. If we could get the county to and pick up with the Forest Service from there and get to our part, that would be really nice.
Yeah, we can talk about it, yeah.
Super nice.
Any questions for Mr. Dennis related to this?
What's the time frame again on
You wonder
trying
why
to get that
nobody
bladed,
shows.
You know, it would be nice just later in the summer. Usually July, August is the time to work in there. The snow is too late to leave that country. And that's the other part that's kind of frustrating about all of this is the season up there is so short. You have from about the end of July, 1st of August to maybe the end of September before you get snowing again.
Oh, here's the agenda, folks.
So any improvements we can make on that.
I guess this is the
on that
Red Line
would
Road
be
RAC
fantastic.
funded project.
Is that
This
full
is
of
Sam
boulders?
Davis speaking.
There are a few, and they keep getting further and further up out of the road surface, and it looks like the actual road surface way wider than it needs to be places. And then, you know, what happens when 8 feet of snow melts and the culverts are plugged, it just washes the road out. And it's getting to a point where you wouldn't take anything you really like up there. It's pretty rough.
Any other comments or questions? So, I imagine as things start to proceed more toward the building season, that you would approach the county commissioners at that time with a little bit more time and maybe sit in on a conversation with Mr. Hall, the road guy, and get some kind of effort on this. I tell you, in a conversation with the board, very enthusiastic about
Oh,
this.
they're covering their
At the
mouths.
district level, I think it's a great idea.
I don't know.
Now, bureaucratically, it's been kind of.
I don't see anything public comment. Do you?
It's not.
Did you see him say any public comment?
They're good to go
Ooh, I
with us
didn't.
on the practical level, and they want to put some resources. I think that it's a perfect example of a mutual aid, if you will, in this particular instance. I think everybody has something to gain. So,
I assume
You want
that's
that road?
the
You want us
mayor
to blade
of
it?
Philipsburg talking.
Grant County does.
yeah, it's
Right on the list, huh?
I don't know. Who's talking?
I think what went on there, Blaine, was I think years ago they used to take the Job Corps kids up there, and it's probably where they taught them how to run a grader. I don't I don't know if Granite County ever did much with it, but. And that's also a possibility that was brought up, and last year with COVID and all the,
Anybody even
and then the
watching
uncertainty of whether the Job Corps in Anaheim was even existing. I think they're still there, but I don't
Look at
know
this
how
view.
limited they are, but that's
this? I mean,
I think with a
it'd be
good
pretty
grader, it
cool.
would
Look
take
at
long
this.
to get what can be graded,
Is
and
that
then
good?
from there,
Look at this.
all in material and that kind of thing, so.
You gotta raise your hand
Shouldn't be a
differently
problem.
if you're raising
You
your
get much
hand.
more than millings this year.
Hmm?
You get much more than millings from the.
They don't know yet, I just like the question to Zillian, and,
What am I trying
I
to
want
talk?
to get kind of a plan on where to put them. Kind of came suddenly last year, and, okay, from here, like, whatever,
Well, this
but
is
anyway, yeah.
Hinkle. I have no clue
So,
who this is.
they said that the state hasn't made a decision on how much millings they'll have. So we don't know how much we get or how much we need, but we're gonna get on that and get a plan on.
Still got quite a few there. There's still
Yeah,
quite a few
well,
there.
I've been talking about getting more.
What the heck is he talking about?
But we don't know, and it could come anytime. How much?
Okay, thank you. Any comments or questions from the public regarding, by the way, the RAC is the acronym stand for?
Resource Advisory,
Right, and that's an organization that operates in the general Tri-County area.
yes. There's about 20 members.
20 members.
Did you
Oh,
say you
now
talked
he
to
is.
them?
Today we did, yeah.
Did they say anything about Stony Creek Bridge?
I guess the county section was right after ours and no one came.
They, had
Maybe
a
it-
phone conference with, Billy and Sue, and so they need some information, so she was gonna send out an email to Paul. See if we can get some.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along,
Where are they?
and number 4, discussion of possible options for use of bill monies, Mayor Lieber. Or,
So I to be put on the agenda, with it just because
Discussion.
of
This is it over here now.
the PILT monies coming in.
PILT
you know,
monies.
both the towns had gotten some at one time, and hope on the future that we can again. I'm not asking for you to say anything tonight. No, we're just discussing about, and I gave you guys, there's 4 years of where the boys have used money for. You get about 200,000 a year, but that's, I understand that.
Who's
But,
currently
you know,
talking or raise their hands?
as needed basis, you know, like for us, I would say would be that
Reed
South
Spiegel.
Main project. That I would ask that you would think about it and, obviously get put on the agenda and come up and talk to you.
How much do you
Again,
need for that?
I haven't even done any numbers. I honestly haven't. And we need to try to get grant funding, you know, with that. I guess asking if that is a consideration that the commissioners may do, with both the towns and so. You know, there is 1.2, almost 1.3 million left. Obviously, we do not want to do.
So
it.
you're showing the budget report. Did you see what the cash
Oh,
was?
that sounds
That's
like
the cash.
Blanche.
1
Blanche
point-
is there.
So this is a budget detail. It's not, doesn't show.
Right, it doesn't. I got the number from Sarah.
That must be Blanche that was talking.
1,292,900.
Yeah, this 70197
Is not correct.
is your appropriation.
That's the appropriation, yes.
What was the cash there, 1 point?
$1,292,916.88. So, just hoping that, you know, we can be considered, somewhat for that. Do you guys have any thought process about it.
Well, even that's our savings.
Right,
And it's not guaranteed.
absolutely,
And they tell us every year that we get this, don't expect it next year.
yeah,
And so, it depends on what you want,
sure, and that money comes in when?
It comes in
June.
but I don't consider it a savings account. I don't consider it a rainy day fund. I do think that should there be a project that you can't get funded by a grant, I think, yeah,
Something we can't
yeah,
get any
yeah.
other way to pay for it,
Yeah.
then we take it out there. But we don't want it to be taken it out, because, like I say, it's not guaranteed, and other counties have used up theirs, and they're hurt, and luckily before I was here, at the county, they didn't spend it.
Well, there was a time when we had to use it. It supplemented a lot of our,
Now it just sits in the bank.
because so in the years since then, yeah, it's kind of stocked up because we haven't needed it because the tax certification has been high enough where.
So when do you know when you're gonna get, just when it appears, or, I mean, how does that work?
Vicky gets
It's
something
online.
that tells when from the treasurer's office how much they're getting. Like, Mako gives out the information when you're gonna get the money.
Okay,
But Congress approves it with the with their annual budget.
okay.
Jeez.
The county portion of South Main Street there from Bridge to Highway 1 is in.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Which is our idea to collaborate with the county, do our end, and then you just do this.
Any other questions concerning Hill? I would note that it was the year before last where I approached commissioners about the possibility of getting some Hill money for our water line, and we went through the process, and they were gracious enough to give us a sum of money, and also gave a sum of money to Drummond.
Gracious enough.
With the effort of Mayor Niebuhr. So I would just suggest that it's not without precedent to do this. And I realize that this is sometimes a rainy day fund. I think that Commissioner Hinkle is right that to say that ask the question, okay, what do we or how much? And that's something that we will address here as the time gets closer, obviously. But I think that it's really important that we have a conversation. And I do feel comfortable with this idea that we can all participate in this fund. It's taxes, and that's what we get, and we are all part of it. Part of the county, both there's county seat. I think we're all. I'll just leave it at that, and then we'll probably readdress this as the season comes closer, Mayor Lieber.
Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. The comments from the public or
Thank you.
questions?
All I have to say is if the request is gonna be made to do it for this the budget cycle, which,
By budget time, yeah.
Right.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Good point. And I guess that's a decent segue, both Hill and budget season for our next agenda item. This is a discussion on long-term solutions to ambulance service hours, including the creation of a paid
So much
position
for
for
public
emergency
comment.
services administrator first responder. I have to tell you upfront, I don't have a lot of practical knowledge of the operations of our emergency service system, but I will tell you frankly
This
that
must
I know
be
a heck of a
number
lot more than
5.
I did 2 weeks ago. I've been getting a lot of phone calls concerning operations and what's going on with it. I've talked to probably a dozen people, both people involved with the operation, citizens, and I will tell you, in uncertain terms, something has to be. There has to be a fundamental structural change in operation, and I'm not saying this to do anybody in the past or what's happened in the past, or in the current with people that are involved. Obviously, it's their situation. There's been things discussed where there's to address. I was for discussion, and what I want to do is I would like to lead tonight with some kind of perhaps of entertaining a new approach to this situation. For me personally, those of you who know me and know my personal politics, I'm not a big government guy at all. And emergency services and public infrastructure, and I'm wrong on the latter. And things and commerce and exchange and art and business all. And so I think the word for tonight is subject matter is priority, and we need to prioritize this. And usually we use the word priority, practically speaking, what the next word is money. And so I just would open the conversation with a couple of questions because I'm not that educated on this in terms of operations. So, and I would also acknowledge that we have a couple of members here of the commission that are new, and our oldest serving member is not here tonight. Is that correct? Right? He's not here. He's served the longest. Well, you just got the letter, correct? And how long have you been serving, Mr. Okay, so I could ask questions that you aren't unable to answer in terms of the past.
I can answer one question about funding. The Philipsburg ambulance is only worth like maybe $6,000 per mil, and you can it's only allowed like 1.20 mils. So there's not much money that comes as a tax base.
When you say it's only allowed,
it's only allowed so many meals.
Statute or law or?
That's, yeah, you go in and when you figure out your budgets for your certification, you only get so many meals. And I think there was only like 1.6 meals that's allowable. So there'd be you can't use that tax. That's the fund somewhere else, because that's just a do it. So it's just Philipsburg area that you're talking for your because Drummond is fine. They manage our budget, but you also have a new brand new building down there you're trying to pay for on that.
Just
it's not very financial.
Sound.
But if we gotta go, and we had somebody running this thing, and they go insurance, that would bring a lot of money, 'cause it was like, usually $40-$50 in, all the way into.
That was brought in, transport service that rendered,
looks like he's getting
then
frustrated.
subsequently paperwork that was done and that sort of thing. So that leads me back to my question, which is, in terms of operational oversight, you guys have a monthly standing report for the ambulance association?
There isn't.
So the answer is no.
Yeah.
Not understanding.
Now, we're coming in, but I haven't seen, the guy running that, once.
I don't with either handles it. Fine.
Sure.
Drummond goes on rent and they get their charges in and they get money in. So they don't come up and have me either. It's an actual, it's a it's not official revenue fund. It's district kind of sort.
Right.
And so it's not underneath the, commissioners.
Okay, so I guess that's again, I don't have the knowledge and the background as to how it works.
It's not a district, but it's or an entity under the county.
Under the county,
yeah.
And I looked at the bylaws, which were recently redone in 2019, I believe. And in the bylaws, pretty thin wafer there, bylaws, there's a chain of command in here. And it has, again, please forgive me, it's Philipsburg Volunteer Operational Chain of Command, Medical Director. Who is that?
With the hospital,
It says-
Dr. Reich is the medical director.
Okay, so it's not the administrator of the hospital. Okay, I'm educating myself here. So that person, it says, right out of the bylaws, Philipsburg Volunteer Ambulance Operation Chain of Command, Medical Director. Number 2, Granite Commissioners. What role do you play in that chain of command? The county commissioners. What active role do you play in it? But apparently you don't get any reports or anything like that.
Well, we built a new ambulance shed, and we try to bring it all together and give them the materials, the equipment they need. That's what we do, and then.
We have budget control, we pay their bills.
Okay.
Okay, so that's basically what,
Oh, we're back to 6 people. Beth is here.
we don't control their, ambulance runs or their meetings or.
So, yeah, and then one other question was was going to be, and now I'm learning quite a bit here with respect to how you are operations wise. So in other words, have you been to any of their meetings? Have you attended any of their meetings?
Have they had?
Have they had it? See, and so again, getting back to this oversight thing, according to their bylaws, they should be having these meetings. Now again, this is a volunteer thing, so I'm not here to point at anything. I just want to find out what's going on with operations and where the problem might be.
This is why, in my opinion, we need a coordinator, administrator, or something, and we all need to be involved in it.
Okay.
The county, the city, and the hospital.
Okay.
Because the hospital is there, I would think it's there for emergencies, triage, stabilization, so you we don't have that.
Okay, I understand that you have entities there, you have the hospital, you have the fire department, you have the ambulance service, sort of separate entities, and what you're on a certain level may be, but I'd like to stick right now to the association and how it's operating, and,
It's kind of like Patrick Little and Jane Bancroft, they've got a grant to do training, so they're gonna do one here soon. Robert may know about that, but that's the, okay, so they do have, there is a grant to do training. Do MP.
okay, so, Patrick Little,
He is the president of the association.
okay,
Yeah.
all right,
So-
so in
There's
the
only-
bylaws, it mentions the president, but then there's nothing that explains the duties of the president. So I guess there's a structural question I have.
I'm trying all the views. People view this
But
as
what I want to do is
people
bring
view.
it back to what Commissioner Hinkle said with respect to
Speaker
a
view.
coordinator. What I've been able to discern from what I've talked
That's
about, in
speaker
a minute, I want to turn this over to some folks here in the audience.
There's the gallery view.
Is that the term I'm using is emergency services administrator. That's what needs to happen. In the bylaws, I can't determine whether or not that's the responsibility of the president
That
because
doesn't
there are no
help.
listed responsibilities. So what I'm imagining here is creating a position, which would be the emergency services administrator as a job, as a real full-time job. That individual is the hub, is the anchor point, is there, not only in terms of the physical aspects of doing EMT work, but it's doing all the paperwork, doing the filings, doing all of the license oversight, doing all those things, reporting to the relevant people involved. All of those things that need to be done, it seems to me that this is a position that needs to be created and created quickly. I understand that it's been volunteer. I went all the way back to 1990, and it's a volunteer situation. I realize that. We need a coordinator, an administrator for this position. And again, getting back to this idea that this is a serious priority. I'm hearing stuff all the time. I don't think it's necessarily something you can kind of nitpick at the edges of. There's something structurally, foundationally that needs to change. And in my estimation, my limited knowledge, that would be an emergency service administrator as a paid position with the county. At this time, I'd like to take the opportunity to have anyone here who would like to say anything regarding the situation. I would ask you to stand up we are, if you have an association or have had an
What is he
association,
talking about?
with the emergency services, part of the ambulance. But what I wanna do here is I don't wanna let us spend a lot of time on anecdotal stories and personal experiences. What I wanna do is get to the essence of a solution and what that general opinion might be in terms of a solution. So, anybody like to say anything at this time?
Oh, go ahead. One thing I'd say is I don't think the problem is the vague bylaws that cause the lack of volunteers, or the lack of volunteering, and then not able to run it. Because historically, with numbers there, they've been able to run properly. In fact, I think Robert could even say that back a few years ago. It seemed. So I think right now there's only like three active people. Yeah, 3 active volunteers. So the thought was to, with that pension, not that, I mean, be the total resolution to it, but for people that are busy and get burned out to try to stay with it. So that's one of the thoughts, is to incentivize the volunteering. The Department of Health and Human Services did an assessment of volunteer EMTs around the state, or just EMT agencies around the state. And that was the biggest issue, is trying to keep volunteers. Most of them are volunteer groups, and so that's one thought. That House bill went down, tabled, but potentially, it may come back here in future time. But so that's one way to try to. And then the grant to get training is another thing too, because there's people lined up right now to do the training. 2 people that are interested.
And are you talking all of the county or just Philipsburg?
Right, we're talking about Philipsburg, but ultimately, if there's a system put together with a professional administrator, there's a potentiality that would involve the whole county. Now, again, where that's out in the future right now, what I want to do is put a turn right now. And I understand and appreciate that long-term vision of retirement. Number one, they're going to go away and not reconvene for 2 years. But now, I want to look at a possibility of changing the dynamic with respect to Philipsburg. And the other thing is this, is that, again, I'm not impugning any individuals or groups. I'm talking about the function of the system. And if you have a dysfunctional system, then you have other systems that are working pretty well. They're not going to want to interface with that. You have street cred. You have developed credible, existing, objective, quantifiable stuff for people to observe, and then they'll want to plug into it. So I think this is a sensitive issue. And just again, unless anyone here has something to say, I would turn it over to the floor. Go ahead, if you would like to say something.
Hi, I'm David Gray. I'm the fire chief of Philipsburg. You got a problem. There's I couldn't imagine if somebody called and their house was on fire, fire department didn't show up. The mayor would just tell me back on what's going on. I don't want to tear up another group because everybody's volunteers, and God love them, they do their best. People are out there doing their thing, but if your medical director or whoever person, maybe they could sit down and say, hey, that's a call. What's going on? How come there's no medical people there? I told Roster and said, look, you got 57 people on there.
Oh, look.
Out of the 57 people, nobody's showing up. You got one driver, Max. He's there every day. Like I said, I don't want to beat up another group, but you got a bit of a problem. I don't know the answer to it. I don't know the answer.
Jason. So, Jason, we go for those that don't know me. Lived in the community
community now for 25 years, actually volunteered on the ambulance for 15 of those years, and was president for multiple years of that. And having gone through this turmoil, I am one of the ones that
Oh, look,
rallied, supported it,
that's
kept
the
it
public.
going, left into it, and got burned out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 from the public.
It's a burden to volunteer. And my question is, why anybody would volunteer is beyond me. It was when I was given the opportunity to step, there were a couple things I wanted. One, a new ambulance shed and a new ambulance. 3 elements, right? With those 3 elements, I figured I can step down and walk away. New crew, new ambulance, new shed, I'm done. Achieved all of those. And even then, it still struggles. What it boils down to, and I think that's what Dan's alluding to, is continuing to do what we're doing. It's going to fail again. We need somebody, it takes a lot of time, and a lot of paperwork, and somebody willing to do that, and to ask them to do it for free is wrong. I mean, or even the city crew needed more manpower. They wouldn't hesitate to create another position, say, hey, we need more guys. We're building more roads, there's more houses out there, people are moving into our community. It's growing. This town is gonna grow and the demand is gonna get worse and worse. And they would fill that position and they want the same, we pay more for weed control in Granite County than we do for an ambulance association. We trade our own money, we buildings, we get our own ambulances. We're self-free. That's huge. Like that, I've ran with Baker for quite a while, off and on. I'm not bragging, but I was #1 guy for several years. What it takes to make ambulance successful, one guy can make a difference. But it's
awesome. You think it's a full-time job?
Absolutely. At least. I know because I was doing the paperwork, doing the training, cleaning the ambulance, and it was easy when I got the opportunity to step down. I hit the door running. I'm getting older now. I don't have that ambition. I used to love getting up at 2, 3 in the morning and go helping people. I had a heart to help anybody, anywhere, anytime. Now I get the pages and I'm just like, I don't care.
So one thing, you can't really compare the weed fund because the weed fund is the whole county.
I'm just trying to make a point.
So that's not really, that's apples and oranges, so.
And it never will be. I'm just talking dollar signs. Because apples and oranges, apples to apples, I'd have to compare myself to another ambulance in Philipsburg, in the city.
No, I just wanted to understand that that's why there's more money in the weed, because it's countywide.
Yep, and thank you for acknowledging that there is more money in the county weeds than in our service.
When we were talking about it, we didn't think it'd be a full-time job, so hospitals, they need help and
This is a public meeting.
Yeah, I tried getting that off to them. I thought it would be a great compliment to them, especially with their transports and what have you. I said, I tell you what, we'll put you guys as nurses on our roster. We'd like to have an ambulance dedicated just to your transports. And they wouldn't even take that.
That's what they've done. And that's the thing.
And I hate
Let's just see
do
how
that
long
because
it's gonna take.
honestly, the transports are our cash.
It's 6:57.
Well,
It had it up for about a minute.
No, that's not, there is individual one.
Christy made mornings on.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so just for clarity of that. No, not.
Christy made morning.
So let me do this question, is it a full-time job? You're saying yes.
It is.
Okay, so
You've
I can't back to my.
Raise your hand here, not here.
That person, when they're not responding to calls, not doing physical type things related to the occupation.
6:58.
There's paperwork, there's reports, there's licensing, there's training, all those things. Some of those go by the wayside, apparently.
Absolutely.
They keep reading back to what they money was attributed partially to transport, for example. And to do that, you have to fulfill the paper requirements and the regulatory requirements and the licensing
Over here
requirements
it
and all
says
that
her
sort of thing.
mic is off. Over here it's
So
Did
could you
you-
kick in something too? I mean, if it was a county, you're talking like you want the county to do everything. Could you see?
With the county, I can tell you for myself, I would lobby pretty hard with my council to absolutely participate. This is, I would hope that the county would in a sense, and maybe the hospital and the other. But I would do right now that I would definitely kick it. What that looks like numbers wise, I have no idea. But I think that we need to be. I know we need to be proactive about this. Have you guys ever been presented a proposal from the president? Would the current president of the association make a proposal to you folks?
Yeah,
About restructuring.
he has. He's in past years encouraged coordinators.
Okay, so administrator coordinator, that sort of. So when did that occur?
The last 2 years. Yeah.
Before the new year or something? Later?
It's been over a year.
And what,
about a year.
So he came in, he said, hey, I have an outline here. Here's how I think it would work. And at that time, the commissioner's reaction to that was.
Oh, it's 6:59.
Look at it.
I didn't hear it say it till like.
Are you trying to talk? You are muted.
No,
I'm trying to be recognized.
The coordinator, because they feel like, someone's
I'm
going to
raising
come in
my
and try to
hand.
micromanage. Versus, so it may be, the intention was.
I understand that there are certain legal requirements, local requirements with respect to the county and how we have Drummond in Philipsburg. There's also a here, right? And so what we're talking about is Philipsburg right now, one step.
Yeah.
Right? And so in the conversation related to Philipsburg, shouldn't veer off into Drummond. Drummond's not on the table at the moment. It's
Actually, at the meeting, because I was at that meeting, it was supposed to be the whole county, and that was how it was presented.
Okay, well, thank you. Okay, so that.
It should at least be consistent.
Who was speaking then? I don't know.
You're at least getting there.
Well, sure, yeah, and that's why we're here tonight, but I want to get
Minutes
to this
gonna be great.
So there was a proposal that was before the current president, and conversation about it, and the idea of Drummond remaining autonomous in that conversation, that's sort of left.
Each time it's brought up on the commission's agenda, then like our reconsider comments, but every time it's been just mainly discussion.
If you had an emergency services administrator oversaw everything, and you developed a system of protocols where Drummond maintained current autonomy, but yet had sources. I don't know the specifics.
I'm not. That would be a good. I'm not disputing you there. Yeah, that's a good. Potentially good.
Help us maybe we can help us figure it out. They do.
So the president obviously had offered that. And I think they're just don't have the people wanting to do it. I mean, it's
Quick question, maybe towards. We used to have disaster preparedness coordinator.
Yes.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
So we have an LAPC meeting next week.
yeah.
So,
Jackie Bolster is. Yeah.
okay, maybe we incorporate, disaster preparedness along with ambulance services.
Who's talking now?
There's a position them on that from either from or Philipsburg. When I started going into that was when I was involved with you, Jason, and I was representing the ambulance and search and rescue, and then I got elected to the town council. So there for a while I was representing all three of them. But they have an open invitation at the meetings to attend, and they don't come. Also, the county commissioners have an open invitation to those meetings, and I think I've seen 2 meetings that there's been a commissioner at it. It's a very well-run meeting, a lot of stuff gets accomplished.
Drummond usually shows up, though.
They do.
The fire department does.
No,
No.
Prince is there all the time.
But anyway, yeah. Let me speak a little bit with Jason, and I worked with Jordan, and the same thing, I got burnt out. I never was an ED, but I was the driver, and I think at one particular time, Jordan and I responded to, and Jason responded to every call that there was that come in. I hired, Jordan was a young kid, Jason was
20 years younger.
20 years younger, and was trying to start a family and run a business and putting hours and hours and hours into the associate. I believe it needs a big coordinator and it needs a whole thing. There is so much to be done up. For somebody to run on the ambulance for a while, can you schedule the maintenance? I'll get a call from one of the other members. Can you call, have them change the oil on it, or put the winter tires on it?
I give up.
Or whatever.
I have no clue
It
who's
is a full-time job.
speaking.
There's more to it.
I
than
don't see
that thing sitting in
anybody.
that hall waiting for the phone to ring.
And just like Joanne said, I volunteers that volunteered paperwork, reports, cleaning, cleaning, do inventory, let me know, but it actually takes leadership to do all that. And all those people have just had a wayside because there's not one person saying, hey, I appreciate you volunteer. I love what you're doing. For us, we could use one. Can you come on, knock it out? It would be awesome.
Anybody
You know,
reading
but
this?
somebody saying that we put that burden on it. And it have to be held accountable. I mean, when they're paid, the county is held accountable. So it takes that on.
Nick?
Forest Service is hiring a paramedic.
I have no idea what they're talking about.
Also, John Razor said that paramedic could potentially be.
I guess the ambulance service.
Building.
Still.
And that's a great example. Now you have a liaison and a coordinator. That's part of the responsibility is outreach. There's any number of things that can be done. And I'd like to take this opportunity. I want to keep this on track. I mean, there's a lot of people that have done a lot, including the commissioners and councils, spend a lot of time on this stuff. But I will tell you, Mr. Jordan White is here.
Who?
He put together, and I have copies of it, and I would like to hand it out to everybody. It's a nice outline of what this situation might look like. And I don't want to get too far ahead of this. However, I think we need to at least have the commissioners thinking of some form, and with the town, our town at least, until we running throughout the county, possibly. Again, it's a pretty money, and so we're entering the budget season, so I think it's an opportune moment. With respect to the paramedic and the whole, that's a great thing. It still needs to be completed. There needs to be that point. Individual who just so, I will. This is available, and I will take a copy of it.
Oh, getting better.
How you're gonna fund it?
No. It's got numbers in here related to costs, but there isn't any part of the essence of this conversation. We were talking. I'm not saying green pill to do it, but I think that at the committee. In some sense, have an obligation to try to figure out how to fund it, participate in that at our level. But